Hi Gemini, my name's Audrey Alison. Thanks for joining me for your March 2017 forecast for the month. It's snowing outside again, like super hard, mad snowing. I don't know if you could see it, but I was hoping it would show through. The lighting's so bright that you can't even see the snowfall, but I'm excited anyway. It's such a pretty day and I wasn't going to record today, but I thought I definitely would because this would be a great backdrop, but you can't see it. Either way, I'm using the Morgan Greer tarot deck throughout the shuffle, and I love this deck. I'm really connecting with it. It's a deck I purchased in New Orleans two years ago, and I've been really resonating with the illustrations. So the simplicity is beautiful, the stars on the back. Let's get to the forecast. This Gemini, it's kind of interesting because your symbol is the Roman numeral 2, like this, Gemini and then Venus next to it. So I have a little Gemini on top here, and then I'm noticing that all of your 11th house is lit up, and that's another Roman numeral 2 looking number. So I think that there's a lot of duality for Gemini, which means there's doubled duality, quadrupled energy for Gemini I'm getting. And this month is all about Aries, okay? There's so much action in the sign of Aries, but that works for Gemini because that sextiles you. Aries is one sign away from you. It's a 60-degree energy. So whatever's filtering into Aries will harmoniously filter into Gemini. So let's start our first aspect. This is on the 2nd of March. And since Jupiter is retrograde, it is allowing for this opposition to occur again between Jupiter and Uranus, stationed 180 degrees apart from one another on the astrological wheel. And both of them will be at 22 degrees, Jupiter in Libra, Uranus in Aries. And on the 2nd, they are in direct, exact opposition of one another. I'm sorry, Jupiter's retrograde, but they're in exact opposition of one another. And on a global level, we'll see a little bit of what we saw on around January 21st, with the expansion of society's rebellion and the marches we've had all around the world and the protesting. This is all about rebellion, Uranus, independence, progression, moving forward, not backward, opposing Jupiter, massive amounts of people. So on a global level, there's something going to be happening here the 1st of March again, the 2nd of March. And then for Gemini, on a personal level, this impacts the 11th house of friendships, goals, and social clubs, and the 5th house of creative endeavors and entrepreneurial energy and children. So there is this push and pull between your goals and working on your own, or your children and how you want to still be social. There's this energy in between those two sectors that's going to apply very differently for every Gemini, but it could have something to do with achieving your goals, but also being the parent or having to connect with the children. It could be what clubs you're affiliated with and having the time to work on your own. Maybe you have to discern what you're joining and what you're not joining, what you have time for. On the 4th, Venus is going to retrograde at 13 degrees of Aries back through April 15th. And this is also in this 11th house. So she's conjunct Uranus and Mars because they're all in Aries. And she'll go direct at 26 degrees of Pisces. And then she'll have this entire sector to travel through again from the 28th of April through June 6th. So this is the social sector. Gemini, you're going to love this. Gemini is a social butterfly. And this is about who you're talking to, who you're connecting with. Venus, reviewing your female relationships, reviewing your reviewing your female friendships. Very important throughout that period. Discerning who's connecting and who isn't. On the 9th, Mars moves into Taurus, so he exits Aries and heads into the 12th house. This is a little bit of an irony here because Mars is action and the 12th house is rest. So deal with that. There is a desire to rest, is what this is. Mars is desire, what you are longing for. Is stamina, but wanting you to be in at a still place, maybe even developing, which is also Mars, developing the spiritual self, developing your intuition in the 12th house, helping you to release an addiction with Mars in the 12th, Gemini. For those of you who want to do that, I have to say, there would be no better time in 9 years to release a habit or an addiction, because that is the 12th house, than right now on the 9th of March. By the 20th of March, boom, you're at the reset button. First day of spring. So Gemini, is there something that needs to be released? Mars will assist. Mars will assist in the 12th house there. On the 12th, our full moon is at 22 degrees of Virgo. And Virgo shares your ruling planet of Mercury. This energy is all about your foundation and your home environment, your connection to mother. There's an awareness and a culmination around the 12th of March, a vision. What needs to be seen in the 4th house of environment? What are you putting an end to in the home? Maybe you had visitors that are leaving around that time. Maybe you're actually you're closing the door on the home itself. Maybe this is about the home you grew up in, and it's no longer in your life at this time. It could be, maybe you feel like there's the flooring or the footing is slipping away from you, Gemini. Maybe it's about you putting an end to some level of security here. Maybe you're relying on the mother, and you have to be aware of what that is in that house, in that environment, in that house literally. On the 13th, your ruling planet enters Aries, joining the party with Uranus, Mercury, and eventually the next day the Sun and the new moon are all in Aries. Your 11th house, Mercury's direct in the 11th, making you very social. I don't think you'll be able to shut a Gemini up in March, which could be problematic because we already are on 100 miles an hour verbally. So your goals, who are you connecting with? Mercury in the 11th, write down the goals, Gemini. That is, okay. Everybody should write down their goals the week prior to the 20th, because that's the day of manifestation. It's the cardinal ingress. It's the day of action. However, the only sign that has Mercury in the house of goals a week before writing the goals down is Gemini. And you're the writer. You're the communicator anyway. So Gemini, when you want something to manifest, you have to write it down and then hold it here in the vision, moving forward with clarity, 100% certainty of your vision unfolding. Anything less could work against you. So with Mercury in the 11th, write down the goals and then take that week from the 13th to the 20th, if you want, to really focus on these goals. It's a week of quiet. There's not a lot happening that week that has to pertain to transits and things shifting and changing in that time period. So it's a very quiet week before the initiating beginning of this entire year and this entire 9-year cycle. Because we are in a number 1 year of 2017, adding those numbers together gives you 10, deduce it to one number between 1 and 9, and that's 1 plus 0 is 1. I hope I'm making sense. So it's a number 1 year. It's the number 1 day of that year on the 20th of March, because that is the first day of the astrological calendar. And it's also the number 1 month, not January, but the astrological month. So this is just major, major catalyst energy. No Gemini should be sleeping on the 20th. I want you up and writing and publishing your websites and getting your job handled and getting your goals in order, and keep it moving on the 20th. That day could set the tone for 9 years. And I mean it. It's like crazy how important it is. So you want to be active and handling things powerfully that day. And then again, 7 days later, the new moon at 7 degrees of Aries in the 11th house. new friends, social clubs, connections, goals, wishes. What does Gemini want to manifest? You have power in that with writing. So I'm drawing the cards here. And when I drop these cards, they're all face down in 4 piles. So this is what I see. I don't see the cards when I just drop them down. I see them with you in surprise because I like surprising myself. So I'm letting you know because I've gotten some messages about me seeing the cards but not showing them right away. I don't know. Let's just go with it. I like pulling them at the same time you see them. It's part of the fun. And then I just interpret them right away. So if you'd like a personal reading with me, I'm at audreyalison.com. You could pick your reading length and I would get back to you in a few days. Once I receive your PayPal order, we can schedule. So Gemmy, your first card, Knight of Swords. This is a Gemini energy card representing you. Or it could be any air sign, but I'm thinking it's popping up to acknowledge you in the reading, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. The Knight of Swords is a form of protection, and he's ready to go for it. He's armored up, and he's ready to get to tussling if you're into that. So maybe you have this warrior energy inside of you. And since Mars and Aries are sextiling Gemini, I know Gemini is feisty right now. I feel it in myself. But anyway, this guy is defensive. And I feel Geminis have this defenses up, armor on, helmet ready to go, sword up. Like, what's up? Touche. You want to get it going? Let's get it popping. Moon. Yeah, we're right now in emotional eclipse season because I'm doing these recordings in February. But the full moon at 22 degrees of Virgo in the 4th house, closure, illumination, emotional energy and connection to mother. What needs to be seen? This came up for another sign. I believe it was Virgo who shares your ruling planet. And the swords, 7 of Swords, is saying, you know, you're ready to leave a few things behind that are negative, but you might have taken some things with you that maybe they weren't yours. Hold on a sec. Oh, some Geminis, Gemini poets, writers, creators, people might be under the assumption that you're taking their work. You're plagiarizing, stealing the words. We know Gemmy's not. Gemmy's got more words than all 12 signs of the zodiac combined. But you can't stop the emotions around other people. So you just keep it moving. Keep moving full speed ahead. You have 2 more cards. Page of Cups. This is a few things. It could be a child. It could be a message from spirit. It could be a child coming into the picture, water sign, maybe Pisces due to that fish in the water, in the cups. This could be a younger female water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. And the page is very androgynous. You don't know if it's male or female energy. Could be both. Could be spirit energy, which is not necessarily gender oriented. So keep listening to intuition and spirit throughout March, especially through the quiet phase of the 13th to the 20th. And right now my voice wants to talk very soft. I'm getting a very peaceful washing of energy. So maybe that's the tone Gemini needs to take. But look at your outcome card. Oh, interesting. I think this came up in Virgo too. So you're sharing that Mercury energy in this reading with that sign that you share that ruling planet with. Look what you're ending with. Your goals must contain some dinero, because the money, the dough in the King of Pentacles is the highest form of security, prosperity, and income. And you are mastering your environment in the 4th house and your occupation. And you're mastering your goals, the goal of your work. So Gemini, if your focus is career in your wish list for this catalyst month, you can slay the competition. You can slay them. You don't have to worry about what anyone else is doing. You just really need to keep focused, trust spirit, trust intuition. Some of you have a child that you have to be responsible for, and you can trust that you will be providing for the family with this kind of card. Reaping your harvest, picking your bloomed earnings, everything coming to fruition. So you have the protection you need. And there's always going to be competition. You've got to be ready to fight too. Not physically. I'm not trying to promote that like our president, but I mean, you got to be prepared with armor on to be defensive this way too, because the swords rule. This isn't action fighting. This is verbal defense mechanisms, mental. The swords rule the mind and the speech. It's not fire and physical action, but it's willing to stand up for what you know is right or where you're headed. And I think it has to do with your earnings as an outcome. I hope this was helpful. I'm wishing you a beautiful month, Gemmy. I love you. Remember, the sky is limitless, so reach for the stars.